Barry Pollack, criminal defense lawyer for Julian Assange. The prosecution of Julian Assange is unprecedented. In the 100 years of the Espionage Act, it has never been used by the United States to pursue a publisher, a journalist like Mr. Assange. Mr. Assange revealed truthful, important, and newsworthy information, including revealing that the United States had committed war crimes, and he has suffered tremendously in his fight for free speech, for freedom of the press, and to ensure that the American public and the world community gets truthful and important, newsworthy information. We firmly believe that Mr. Assange never should have been charged under the Espionage Act and engaged in exercise that journalists engage in every day, and we're thankful that they do. It is appropriate, though, for this fight to end, and it is appropriate for the judge, as she did today, to determine that no additional incarceration of Mr. Assange would be fair, would be appropriate, and it is time for him to be reunited with his family. Mr. Assange is grateful for all of the support that he has received and looks forward to reuniting with his wife and his children and getting back home to Australia. Thank you.
Mr. Pollack, is Mr. Assange going to come out and make any statements at all, or be available for a question?
Mr. Assange will not be taking statements. When we conclude here, we'll go back inside and we'll leave with Mr. Assange, but he will not be taking questions.
What does this mean for the future of WikiLeaks and the work that WikiLeaks is doing?
WikiLeaks' work will continue, and Mr. Assange, I have no doubt, will be a continuing force for freedom of speech and transparency in government. He is a powerful voice and a voice that cannot and should not be silenced.
Can you speak more about the choice of Saipan as the venue for this?
Because his supposed crime occurred entirely outside of the United States, whatever district is the first district that he enters is the appropriate district for him to be prosecuted. By agreement with the government, we decided that this was an appropriate venue. It is closest to Australia. It allowed us to come in, allowed Mr. Assange to walk out a free man, and to quickly get back to his family in Australia.
You said that this was happening for years?
Does it strike a chilling precedent today by Mr. Assange pleading guilty for other journalists that might pursue national security?
What sends a chilling precedent is the prosecution. The fact that the United States elected to charge Mr. Assange with violating the Espionage Act. The court today determined that no harm was caused by Mr. Assange's publications. We know that they were newsworthy. We know that they were quoted by every major media outlet on the planet, and we know that they revealed important information. That is called journalism. The United States prosecuted that. They exposed Mr. Assange to 175 years in prison. That is what has a chilling effect. Today, a decision that it's time for Mr. Assange to go home, that doesn't have a chilling effect. The chilling effect is the United States pursuing journalism as a crime. I hope this is the first and last time that ever occurs.
Given what you just said, how difficult was it to therefore for Mr. Assange to come here and make this deal? Of course he wants to go home, but how difficult was it for him to swallow all of that?
Mr. Assange was not going to agree to any disposition of this case that required him to accept allegations that are simply not true. Mr. Assange did not plead guilty to and would not plead guilty to 17 counts of the Espionage Act, computer hacking. There was a very narrow agreed upon set of facts here, and Mr. Assange acknowledges that, of course, he accepted documents from Chelsea Manning and published many of those documents because it was in the world's interest that those documents be published. Unfortunately, that violates the terms of the Espionage Act. That's what we acknowledge today. We also said, and Mr. Assange said very clearly, that he believes there should be First Amendment protection for that conduct. But the fact of the matter is, as written, the Espionage Act does not have a defense for the First Amendment. So what he acknowledged is what he has to acknowledge, which is true and nothing that he should be ashamed of. Yes, he received classified information from Chelsea Manning, and he published that information. That should not be a crime.
How does he feel about the legacy that he's leaving behind? The legacy that he's created and built over the last few years is what he's created.
I hope he feels very good about it. He has, I think, spurred an important discussion in the United States about how to balance national security and freedom of the press. He has standed by his principles, putting up with detention in the embassy, incarceration in a high-security prison. I hope that every one of us would have the courage to stand by our ideals the way Mr. Assange has, and so I certainly hope he feels that he has left a powerful legacy, and I am certain that there are other chapters in the Julian Assange story yet to be written. With that, I'm going to turn it over to.
So can you tell us how long it took to get this deal? Years?
62 months in Belmarsh to get this deal. I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Robinson.